First, we're going to talk about the founder selling advantages. So founders should be doing the early sales work in their startups because founders are the most qualified and the most apt team members to sell to customers. There's no one in a company who's going to come in that could better sell to a customer than the founder. And founders have 5 unique advantages that let them sell better than anyone else. So founder selling is also going to be the most sustainable way to grow an early stage startup. Now, I'm not saying that founders should perpetually be doing the sales in their company, but the early sales work of figuring out your sales specifically and then creating all of the process to make your sales scalable, that's something a founder should be looking at doing. So when that doesn't happen, we run into some problems. I see a lot of founders who are unwilling to sell and want to immediately bring in a rep to sell their solution. The hard truth is here, if you do that, that salesperson that you're hiring isn't an employee, they're a co-founder. You're asking them to do co-founder's work. You're asking them to take on a level of risk that a co-founder would be doing. And I've heard people say, well, Brandon, I've been building this company for 3 years and I just want to bring in a salesperson. They wouldn't be a co-founder. I've been working on this too long for them to be a co-founder. If you're asking someone to take on a high level of risk in doing their job, whether or not they'll even be successful because you haven't figured out sales, and they're going to do a ton of work that's going to benefit the dozens of salespeople that come in later on if your company is successful, that's co-founder's work. That's not employee work. So founders not selling takes an essential aspect of the company and it puts that out of their control when founders don't sell. So if you pass that on just to an employee and you just say, I'm going to delegate this immediately, I'm not going to think about it, you lose control there because you weren't involved and you don't actually know what's going on, and you're giving up a vital part of your company and of your growth and giving it to someone else. So that's going to open you up to a lot of risk. You might be lucky. You might be the 1 in 50 that finds an all-star, but most people, when they try to do this, that rep fails and they have to go back to the drawing board a couple more times before they find a rep that works. And as a result, your company's going to grow slower and runway reduces, and it could even risk the viability of your company. So let's get into the specific founder selling advantages that you have. So the 5 sales advantages that founders have are first, your network. So this is probably the most common way that founders find their first customers is going to the people they know and then their first and second degree connections within their network to get in contact with prospects. So when you go to sell as a founder, make sure you're using this to your advantage and use your network to connect with people who are your potential customers and get those easy sales conversations started. You're never going to have easier intros to sales conversations than networking with people you know and the people that they know other than referrals. The next advantage that founders have is their title. So people love buying from the founder of a company. It makes them feel more important. And when buyers know that they're dealing with the founder of the company, they trust that salesperson more than maybe an account executive or an SDR. So don't be afraid to let people know you're the founder of the company. It's going to help you make them feel important, make them more likely to buy, and help them build trust with you. The next advantage that founders have is expertise. So founders do tons and tons of research around their market, around competitors, around other solutions, around what their customers are doing in their customers' lives. And because of that, they're going to have a level of market expertise that's probably going to go unmatched in your organization. It's highly unlikely that for a long time, anyone will understand your customers better than you do as the founder. So use that to your advantage. Leverage that in your sales conversations because that's going to allow you to have deeper, more impactful conversations with your prospects and convert more of those people into buyers because you deeply understand their world. The fourth advantage founders have when selling is their personal experience. So a lot of times founders will have direct experience in their market where they've, been working in the market for a while, or they've been doing hobbies in that market and they understand from personal experience what goes on in that market, what their buyers' frustrations are, what other solutions are lacking. And so leverage that as well. Let people know about your personal experience and leverage that to have better conversations with buyers. And then the fifth advantage that founders have in selling is their conviction. It's going to be really rare that a salesperson is going to have more conviction in the solution that you offer than the founder does. So make sure that you don't overplay this. This is the one that you could overplay. Don't really just rely on emotional manipulation to get people to buy, but bring that into play and bring your conviction and your deep passion about the market and your solution into your sales conversations. That's going to help you convert more customers. So make sure that you as a founder are taking on the first phase of your sales efforts. You'll grow and learn faster than when you would if you outsourced this. So you'll figure out sales, you'll be able to be more helpful to your sales team, you'll reduce the risk there, and then you'll also be right there. There's not going to be any go-between for product feedback and your marketing feedback. You're going to get all that right up front if you're doing the sales. And this is also going to help you create a more successful sales org if you're doing that work, and you can help create alignment. If you outsource this to a hired salesperson, you're going to be one step further from alignment in your company. And make sure to capitalize on those sales advantages when you go to do your founder sales. So now you know that you as a founder should be heavily involved in your early sales efforts at your startup, and what advantages you have in selling over a sales employee so you can leverage those to get better results when you go to sell.
And then finally here, if there's anything else you want help with, if you have additional questions, come to revliftoff.com to the How I Can Help section. You'll see the free Startup Sales Accelerator course that you're listening to right now on Spotify or YouTube. I've built a number of workbooks to help make implementation really easy on everything I talk about in the course. Those are just $35. Or if you want to talk to me, you have any more specific questions, things that you think are more of a one-off, or you want to get really specific about your situation or the things that you've tried, you can book a one-on-one session with me for 30 or 60 minutes. I'll be happy to help you out, try to figure out whatever problems you feel stuck on. And it is always my goal to make sure that that is absolutely as valuable as we can possibly make it.